percent of the prison population has an active substance use disorder, and instead of them receiving treatment, they receive punishment. This number doesn't just show the people that are in the system, but also the ones who are out. The criminal justice system currently handles drug-related offenses in two approaches. The first approach is our traditional prosecution and incarceration. The second approach is diversion and treatment programs. This is one of the major social problems that we have today. When an individual is experiencing the use of drugs, they are creating problems not just for themselves, but creating problems for people around them. Again, addiction is a disease. We will now show you a video that we've created to explore different topics with this problem and help create change.
Thousands of people with substance use disorder end up in jail every year, yet incarceration often worsens the addiction instead of solving it. Alternative sentencing program offer a smarter approach. They redirect individuals from jail into treatments, recognize addiction as a health issue rather than a crime. By focusing on recovery rather than punishment, this program reduces relapse, lower overdose risks, decrease repeat offense, and save public money. Alternative sentencing programs redirect people with substance use disorder away from jail and into treatments. This includes drug cuts, which requires counseling and sometimes medication-assisted treatment instead of incarceration. Diversion programs with drops or reduced charges if the individual complete treatment, and probation with mandatory treatment allowing people to stay in the community while receiving counseling and support. This ordinary address addiction as a medical issue, not a crime, which support recovery, reduce relapse, lower overdose rates, and decrease people from going back to it. They also save money by avoiding the high cost of incarceration.
According to the National Institute of Drug Abuse, roughly 60% of people who are incarcerated in the U.S. meet criteria for a substance use disorder. Types of treatment include therapy such as cognitive behavioral therapy, which helps individuals understand the thoughts and situations that lead to drug use, and replace them with healthier responses, as well as a group therapy that can encourage connection, accountability, and shared coping strategies. Another form of treatment is individual counseling, addressing trauma, stress, and personal factors behind addiction. Family counseling helps repair relationships and reduce environmental triggers that contribute to relapse. And finally, medication-assisted treatment that is combining medication with counseling. Rehabilitation can prevent future drug use and criminal behavior. Rehab addresses the root causes. Treatment focuses on trauma, mental health conditions, and environmental factors that lead into addiction, not just the symptoms. Individuals receiving treatment while incarcerated are far less likely to return to drug use upon leaving jail or prison. Rehabilitation programs provide coping strategies, job readiness, and community support, all of which lower the chances of returning to criminal activities. When addiction is treated as a health issue and not solely a criminal one, communities see fewer drug-related crimes and fewer repeat offenses. A large proportion of incarcerated individuals have substance use disorders. With most facilities having long waiting lists or no treatment options whatsoever, many people are left unassisted. Without treatment, the risk of overdose increases after relapse. People tend to go back to old habits, especially without rehab or medication-assisted treatment. Overdose risk is also particularly high upon release.
When it comes to decriminalization, there is a difference between this and legalization. When talking about decriminalization, we're talking about lessening drug-related sentencings that are deemed not as serious. On the other hand, legislation is the complete removal of legal prohibitions against a substance. This is important because when looking into the jail system, there are many different people there that are facing many different sentencing based on their crime. We want to make more room in the jail systems for people who have committed more serious crimes rather than, for example, possession of marijuana. These changes can impact communities and reduce incarceration rates by allowing these criminals to rejoin society. For example, criminal records make it harder for people to find housing, get a job, anything like that. Lower costs for jail systems will be affected too by lessening the number of people incarcerated for drug-related issues, which are, again, deemed not as serious. Another example would be the legislative bill 3722. A summary of this would be that the bill says, implements recommendations of New Jersey Criminal Sentencing and Commission to remove mandatory minimum sentencing for certain non-violent drug crimes.
Millions of people with drug problems go through the criminal justice system every year. Many of them are arrested again within a few years of being released. The justice statistic says a lot of people in prison have drug problems, and many, after being released, still obtain the same drug problem. This isn't just about making a bad decision, it's about addiction not being treated. Substance use disorder changes the brain and makes it harder to control impulse and making decisions, especially when someone is stressed. The problem is not that most prisons don't offer proper treatment. The National Institution on Drug Abuse says only small numbers of incarcerated people with addiction get real evidence-based help. Without help, people go back to the same situation that caused the addiction in the first place, which makes it more likely they'll relapse and commit the crime again. One solution that works is drug courts. Instead of sending people to prison right away, drug courts focuses on treatment and supervision. Participants can go to therapy, take regular drug tests, get treatment, and learn skills to manage their addiction instead of falling back. According to the National Institute of Justice, people who finish drug court programs are 40% less likely to go back to jail than those in regular courts.
When individuals are released from jail or prison after struggling with substance use, their challenges they don't disappear. In fact, they become a lot harder. With no stable place to live, no job, or limited access to mental health or addiction support, a lot of times incarcerated individuals, after they leave, that's the hardest part of their journey. This lack of resources makes it extremely difficult for them to stay sober and rebuild their lives. The National Institute of Drug Abuse also reports that substance abuse disorders are highly prevalent along with incarcerated individuals, and the risk of relapse is especially high without continuous treatment after release. Meaning, when they leave jail, relapse is one of the hardest things that they will go through. This is why re-entry programs are so important. These programs help people with basic critical needs like housing, job training, employment opportunities, and counseling. Having a safe place to sleep and steady income and emotional support can be the difference between recovery and relapse. According to the Council of the State Government Justice Center, comprehensive reentry programs that combine treatment, employment support, and housing assistance significantly improve long-term outcomes for individuals returning to community.
Through examining the history of women revolving around incarceration and drug use, it is shown that the number of women admitted into the justice system has increased significantly in recent years. Research has shown that factors such as home environment, partner relationships, and mental health can play a huge role. Even after release, women still face challenges to successfully re-enter into society due to the stigma of drug use, overall causing an increase in re-arrest, furthering their mental health regarding drugs in prison. To ease this problem, programs such as mindfulness-based relapse prevention, or MBRP for short, for instance, were placed into testing. Although this program used male participants to test its efficiency, pre- and post-test measures included mindfulness, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, and drug craving. The program in the end turned out to be a success, which suggested that a small but significantly greater increase in mindfulness is delivered by a culturally proficient trainer and is practical in a jail setting. Could also possibly work on incarcerated women struggling with mental health or drug-related problems.
When it comes to talking about prevention and addressing drug use, we often focus on individual choices. However, it's important to consider how both communities and families play one of the biggest roles in shaping a person's path. There are many community programs, such as after-school activities, campus activities, mentorship groups, and even peer support groups that help an individual feel seen, heard, and supported. Families are one of the most important factors in our lives. According to the National Library of Medicine, their data has shown that about 8 million children younger than age 18 live with at least one adult who has a substance use disorder, which is also known as SUD, and which is a rate of more than 1 in 10 children. Families with SUD patterns influence their child to struggle with emotional, behavior, or even substance use problems during their early lives. In short, it's important to consider the factors of SUD patterns that can potentially affect one's family members. Also, community support is really important. Whether it's volunteering, supporting local programs, or even establishing such programs, each and every one of us can help create an environment where people who are struggling with addiction can get the help and support they need.
To conclude, in terms of substance abuse in the justice system, there are many factors that we can advocate for solutions, such as alternative sentencing, rehab, treatment programs, government policy, substance reduction, and how family and community support can help aid those who are and were incarcerated. This is such a problem in today's day and age. We are here to call action and inform those on what really goes on in the justice system and how these problems are overlooked or not seen as important. Truly, addiction is a disease, and we want to impact those and help those who are affected. It's not only just important to someone's overall health, it's important to their emotional, mental health, and the people around them. I hope you enjoyed our video talking about how us college students can advocate for change.